Hello, welcome to the Imperfect Podcast, the podcast where we bring brilliant people to talk about their imperfections. Hi, Jessica.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Very good, very good.
Ready?
I'm absolutely ready.
Amazing. First, Jessica, thank you for trusting me with this. Yeah. And, so I usually like to trap my guests with a very uncomfortable question at the beginning. So can you please present yourself,
Amazing.
in your words, can you present yourself? But before that,
Mm-hmm.
let me just summarize our relationship. So Jessica, we've met a few months ago because we're part of this academy, the Harmonic Circle Academy, which is a spiritual circle academy class whatsoever.
Development,
Exactly. Like
growth.
it's a beautiful space where we meet amazing people, by the way. And so we've met there and we had interesting conversations. And when I proposed to you to be part of this podcast, you said, "Oh, I have so many imperfections. Let's do it."
Yeah, of course.
So the floor is yours, Jessica.
So, fitting to the Imperfect podcast, I'm probably part of the anonymous perfectionists. So for a long time, I kind of neglected that I'm a perfectionist, but I am, or parts of me are. So it's a perfect match. I'm trying to be more imperfect. So in that sense, I'm approaching this podcast as well. So introducing myself as who am I? Well, that's a broad question, but as most people answer through their work life, I might start with what I love. I just come from skiing, so I love skiing. So I'm an outdoor enthusiast. I'm a nature lover. I'm a dancer. So I love
Oh,
dancing. I love music. Everything that contains rhythm, that contains movement. I'm an explorer of, let's say, awareness, consciousness. So I ask myself broad questions. I didn't start from there. Those questions came at the end of my 20s. And I'm like, oh my God, can you please go away again? Because life was so comfortable without them. But they stayed.
mhm.
And so I had to kind of maneuver and navigate through these questions. And I'm also, I think, a good friend of a few very, very good friends around the world. So I'm also a traveler. I lived in different places in the last years, and I try to be as unconditional as possible, because when you're distant, you also have to cope with distance. So not all of my friends are very close by, but I try to learn and grow from that as well. Um, and I'm a book lover. I love to read. I love to immerse myself in stories, because I also believe that all of what we have and all of what is created is at the base a story. So I'm really fascinated and interested in the stories that we tell each other, and also the imagination and the future stories we share, or we might share in books or movies. But also the classical stories that we tell each other about work, about our way of life, how we're supposed to live, how we are potentially conditioned, and all of this. So maybe this is a slightly different approach to who am I.
I love it. And I'm sorry, Jessica, but we'll have to stop the podcast right here because you're perfect. Bit of
No.
nature, travel, books, like rhythm, dancing. I don't think we have anything to talk about. No, but I like the approach of your presentation. What kind of music and dance do you like, by the way? Because I like that too.
Well, in terms of dance, when I lived in Portugal, I got introduced to something called contact improvisation. So this became one of my dearest love affairs with dance. And contact improvisation is not only about being in contact with someone else. Obviously, this is part of contact improvisation. But the contact starts with yourself and with the relationship in yourself, within yourself, but also with the environment that you are in, because we're always in contact, we're always in relation. Even if we don't consider it to be in contact with this pen, but you are. So there is this kind of relation. So it starts from there. And then you can dance in duets, you can have trios, quartets, can be bigger groups, and all is about improvisation. The roots of contact improvisation are in Aikido.
Yeah.
So it's also quite dynamic, and there are some technical parts of it that you can learn or train. But the essence is impro, and I love it. I love it so much. And at the same time, there was another thing that I explored in Portugal, which is movement medicine. And I was like, what? What the heck is this? So it belongs to the area of conscious dance, if you want to call it like this, and five rhythms, maybe some people know. And so it takes these approaches from indigenous wisdom, from traditions, from everything that uses music and movement as medicine. And then it invites you to express whatever is alive through movement, through dance. And it's a facilitated journey. And I just absolutely fell in love with this kind of dance as well. And then, of course, there's ecstatic dance and all these things. But these two in particular, they are just my big love. And in terms of music, it's a hard question because on one hand, contact improvisation sometimes has no music.
Mm.
So what do you do when suddenly there's no rhythm that you have like from the outside that gives a certain structure, a certain frame? That's how you move. So how do you move then? What is your internal music? So in that sense, my love for music is very broad. So I couldn't tell you like, oh, I'm into jazz. Well, I love jazz, but I also love R&B. There's rock, there is electro, house. Um, you can send me to a rock festival, and I enjoy it absolutely. There will be blues. There's an orchestra. Maybe it's a classical piece, and I love it. So for me, it's all about resonance because music for me is very dependent on my mood, but also the other way around. Music influences my mood. So I can utilize it as medicine, literally, or as a twist towards another kind of maybe emotion or a thing that I want to evoke inside myself. So I use it that way as well. And sometimes if I want to be melancholic and just relaxed, I just choose this kind of soft ballad, melancholic music, and I dream myself into my Iceland trip or something like this, which is amazing as well.
Yeah, it's very funny you're talking about that because lately I've been realizing and being aware more and more about the relationship between my mood and the music, and in both directions. And I've been stopping myself sometimes from listening to nostalgic because I have a part of me that really likes nostalgic music, Arabic
Uh-huh.
music that reminds me of
Yeah.
Lebanon and this kind of and the sea and this kind of stuff. And I enjoy this kind of music, but it
Yeah.
also make me nostalgic and melancholic, as you were saying. So now sometimes I sit with, yeah, although you feel like listening to that, do you really want to feel about it? Do you want to reinforce this feeling or
Yeah.
maybe listen to something more neutral? So yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
Jessica, all our, yeah,
And just because there's a connotation to that, or another example, I lived in Portugal for 1.5 years, and Portuguese have this fado. So it's
yes.
this, it's a very melancholic, very they call it saudade, it's this sad longing
Yeah.
desire thing. And so
What's
yeah,
this? Do you read it?
probably something like this.
This is Saudade.
Oh wow.
They did it in Brazil, so I understand what you're talking
Wow.
about.
Yeah. And so and this is something that then, it's there. And if that's the quality you want to have and live by or live with, of course you can indulge yourself in this, ah, as you said, nostalgia, melancholic stuff, and heartbroken longing. So it's a choice.
Saudade is a word that really struck me to a point that I
Mm,
did it in a tattoo, because it's the only word,
obviously.
by the way, in the world where it has the times. It's talking about, it's in the present. I'm feeling something now, about a feeling or a memory from the past, with the
Hmm.
hope to relive it in an unknown future. So it's the
Yeah.
only word where you have the three times, and it's very, like in Brazil, for example, everybody say it, and they will tell you will not understand it, because you need to really be from these countries and feel the meaning of it to really understand what it means, what this means. But Jessica, this we're really talking about perfect things here, and it's not good for the audience. It's not good for the podcast. Now we need to turn the page and talk
Okay.
about what in this moment of your life is making you, or what is the imperfection in this moment of your life that you are struggling the most with, or you are
Mm.
working?
What's my perfectionist part?
That's it. Well, yeah.
It's true. It's true. So yeah, it's more, I think for me, mm, I I love control. I
Mm,
love to be in control in a certain way in order to create safety and security in my environment so that my system, my nervous system, my body, etc., can feel calm. And so a big part of that, obviously, is a sense of control, which we all kind of execute in one way or another or aim for as a control, as a belief, because at the end of the day, you're not really in control. Something else is, or however we want to call it, we are embedded in something way greater than us. So we are not really in control. But nonetheless, the sensation of I managed everything, I organized everything to the best of my ability, or to a certain degree that my system can calm down or relax, has a tendency to be in the area of perfectionism. And this by itself causes harm for me, my system, in my environment, in my relations, in whatever I want to approach, achieve, do, or even not do. And so this is one aspect of the bigger topics, obviously, that are my imperfection in being perfectionist, and therefore trying to be more imperfectionist intentionally, in order to teach my system that the unknown is safe, that the unpredictable is safe, that the messy business of day-to-day life, of unorganized people around me who constantly are, working almost against my plans,
yes.
that I can be totally relaxed with that, and that I can lean back and say, okay. So one of my biggest, words to aim for, or like carrots dangling in front of me, is serenity. Serenity is like, okay, I relax into the moment and I can be at ease with whatever, because I don't have to control. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be always 150, 100, 200%. And also, not only in my environment, the perfectionist comes into play, but also inside of me, which is even, you know, even stronger most of the time. So my inner critique is heavily at play a lot of times, judging, controlling, commenting. So it's a harsh voice internally. And I'm teaching and soothing this one as well to teach you that imperfection is part of the perfection because it belongs, right? It belongs to the whole. But that's a process in itself. It's a constant dance, let's say.
Jessica, you phrased it in an amazing way, in a very clear way, and it shows a very high level of awareness around that. And I have the yes, exactly. And when I hear you, I feel because I suffer from the same, like as all my guests, I have all the imperfections in me, but specifically this one because it's subtle. Sometimes control is subtle. It's not something that you like. It's not conscious, but you have a great awareness of that to a point where I'm saying, okay, she solved it because it's so obvious that, and she's expressing it in a very good way that it's solved. So can you tell us if you really solved it?
No, no. I mean, not at
This is
all.
why our brain, if we know that this is our imperfection and we know that we don't want this, how come we cannot change it like this,
Because it's our body, it's an autonomous reaction. And this is the point. Like, we are not only brain. What most people are like, oh, now I know it. Yeah, you can read a book, but and then you might know, but have you embodied it? No way. No way. That's why knowledge is just the beginning and not the end. Because as long as you don't have it in a felt experience over and over and over again, and you train your system, your heart, your nervous system, everything, that they can soften and that they can relax as well. As I'm saying they as if it's something outside. No, but it's parts, and they all belong together. It's like mind, body, heart. It's all one. It's the whole. And as long as the whole is not aligned and coherent in their reaction or in their action, in moment to moment experience, there will be always difficulty. And so, yes, I can express it. That's true. But do I live it in every moment? Not at all. Sometimes I'm totally unaware. Sometimes I'm more aware. Sometimes I catch myself earlier. Sometimes I catch myself later in certain moments. But what I also learned is, and this is the very tricky part, at least in my experience, is judging the judgment.
Mm.
So you come to a point that you become aware that you judge either yourself, others, everything, the whole world. You get triggered by everything, whatever. Or you notice that part, which is judging in yourself, talking to you, oh, this person has done it really well. He's not behaving well. This is not how you do it. This is not how you treat someone else. This is not how you communicate, da 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 da, for example. And then you notice, you become aware of that part, you observe it, as we also learn in the Harmonic Circle Academy, right? Or in the Harmonic Circle. You observe it, but then comes another part and say, you shouldn't judge. It's wrong to judge. And then you are in crisis, and then you have internal explosion, because then you're like, yeah, but I'm not supposed to judge. Yeah, but I'm judging. Oh, am I bad now? But now I so you turn it towards yourself again. So that's then the inner critique coming back to you, and you beat yourself up internally because you judge. And this is like judging the judge. And this is where it becomes really tricky. And this for me was a very particular and very powerful, but also very intense period where I clearly saw that I would beat up myself due to certain concepts or supposed teachings, you're supposed to be good, you're supposed to not judge, you're supposed to be loving, you're supposed to be unconditional, la 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 la. And internally, nothing fits to that kind of ideal reality, because internally I was judging, I was a mess, I was frustrated, I was angry. But then there was the other part: should not be angry, you should be loving, you should not judge, you should be, serene, la la la. And so boom, and that just collided completely, and I was falling apart. Like physically, literally physically, I was falling apart because I couldn't hold it any longer. And then I discovered I was on a path of spiritual bypassing. And that was a hard one, but it was an important one for me.
What is spiritual bypassing for you?
Well, for me, spiritual bypassing has a lot to do with the idealized version of the higher self and neglecting the absolute truth, which is we are all one, everything is connected, we're unconditional, we are loving, energetic beings, we are more or less neutral, positive, negative, good, evil, nothing exists. There's no judgment of whatsoever. So the absolute truth. And that's a concept from John Wellwood that I discovered at this point in my life. And then there's this sort of relative truth, which is our human beingness. The emotions that arise in our body, the nervous system, the memories that our cells carry, literally our biology, the conditioning that we received in our upbringing through our life, which framed our perception of who we are in relation to, etc., which is very different from a sense of the absolute truth, which is like we basically don't exist even. Yeah, everything is energy, everything is universe, one. And so spiritual bypassing for me in that context was I lived by high ideals and standards of absolute truth on the outside. And my inner critique easily adopted these concepts of you love everyone, there's no right and wrong, just be serene, just breathe. Say the truth and love everyone, like Maharaji said to Ramdas. And so I had all these ideal concepts, but the relative reality was that I never touched the deeper wounded parts and the deep longing and desires and humanness, embodied humanness of myself. So I completely bypassed them and I went to an absolute ideal version. And by doing that, I completely even more neglected my humanness, my incarnation, and I suffered even more. But then it was so far that I said, suffering doesn't exist, so there should be no problem, because suffering is all mental or all something that you tell yourself as a story, because actually you don't exist. But physically, it was so strong that my body said, are you fucking kidding me? I'm existing on this relative plane. So please look at me and hear me. Okay. And so, breakdown was, I think the last call of my body saying, if you don't get it, I'll put out the plug, and nothing works. So I was chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, complete breakdown of many things. I couldn't do anything anymore. And then my body said, well, if you are nothing, well, probably then you are nothing. You're just like a vegetable on the sofa, something like this. Well, then enjoy. So here I was.
And how did you manage to get out of it?
It's still a process. It's not that I would say like it's finished. But in general, I needed to understand the language of my body, my physicality, my biology, like everything. So I started to investigate into Gabor Mate's work, for example, when the body says no, or I started to learn the biology of trauma, for example. And so everything that's related to learning how the body functions, learning the language of the body, learning the language of the nervous system, and allowing myself to slowly, gradually listen to what's actually inside, not conceptually by the mind telling and observing the body, but literally moving very gently into the body and not, as I said, not conceptualizing. That's a very different thing. I look at my body or I am in my body. And for a lot of people, being in the body is a very scary thing because this body carries a lot of memory, carries a lot of information, and sometimes they are not so comfortable. And so it's a survival mechanism. And for me, moving gradually, slowly, very gently towards this body, understanding it first through knowledge, then through practice. Dancing is a very embodied practice, so it weaves into this process of reconnection. Practices like yoga, practices like literally body work, receiving treatments, and other people helping me to reconnect to parts of my body. It's a whole process. And now gradually I feel very lucky to more and more, and even though embodiment is quite a buzzword these days, and even the last years, but nonetheless I really feel embodied now more and more and more, and this is a healing journey for me.
Wow. Beautiful story. And I think you wanted it first. You wanted to get out of it. And I think many people today, and from my experience and discussions with a lot of people, and also from my own experience where I also had a certain crisis in my life,
Yeah.
I think the first thing is to want to get out of it, which sometimes is very difficult when you are inside of it, and then you take one carrot, and then the other carrot, and slowly you rebuild some energy and some capabilities, and then slowly you start to build on that until you make meaning of it. And usually when you get out of it, you get even stronger, because you know that you are capable of doing things, and you are capable of solving problems. Sometimes this is, and you are stronger than what you thought, because when you are really down, you think that you're not good at anything. And this brings and builds strength and builds confidence. And then you remind yourself the next time you feel a little bit down that, oh, I did once, like one of the key uh, sessions I did was energy session, where the healer took me to the different parts, like the different ages of like my past, and in each phase, what was the difficulty and how I overcame it. And this reminded me of the number of, even if it's not big crisis, but the number of things that I had to solve in my life, and it reminded me of who I am. Because in fact, we tend to forget. I think this is one of the main uh, imperfections that we human have. We forget. We forget.
It is also maybe sometimes it's a strong part. Maybe we don't want to always get reminded of everything. And also for me, remembering is always, it's a mutual remembering. It's a process, and memories change. which is good because somehow based on our frequency, based on our beingness, also our memory might change, or the story we tell ourselves about a situation in the past, because suddenly a trauma can become a growth opportunity. But depending on the story or depending on the context and connotation I give it, we give meaning to, it changes. It becomes something different. And sometimes we are capable of doing it alone, reframing, readjusting. Sometimes we need help.
Yeah.
And that's great because we are relational beings and we don't need to solve everything on our own. But nonetheless, for me, it was really at that point in time, like I was literally lying on the sofa like a vegetable. So there was not much about a choice. I was like, if you want to live a life, then please start doing something different because like this, done. Ciao.
Yeah.
You know, you cannot, I mean, life is the sofa, period. Everything was hurting, everything like with depression and nada. So if you want to reconnect to life in its expressive, joyful, and creational way, you or me in that way, I need to change something. I need to figure out what's going on. And so that path kicked me off into different directions, and yeah, and I moved through a low roller coaster. Obviously, it's not a straight line. It's like, oh, I'm good. Then, oh, I thought I was good. Now I'm back. Oh shit, what happened? And then, oh, I'm great. And so I learned that also these journeys, it's a spiral. You always return to certain places, but then it comes to what did you learn? Do you act differently in the same situation or in a similar situation? Even though you're like, oh no, I fell into the same hole. What the fuck, you know? And then,
Yeah.
yeah, but maybe you climb out the hole faster this time. Or maybe in five more iterations you avoid that hole. But you face still the same situation or a similar situation. But it's a question of how do you act in this moment. So for me, it's life is a spiral. It's a cyclical nature. It always returns. It always returns, which is
You reminded
beautiful
me,
in itself.
yeah, you reminded me of this in the sales training that you used to give before. I used to ask, what is the definition of craziness? And surprisingly, the definition is that we keep doing the same thing while expecting a different outcome. This
Yeah.
was a different craziness. And I think this is key from what you say. But Jessica, what you're saying is also like, I don't know if you're living this, but sometimes I live it also because my tendency for perfection and my subtle tendency also to be in the control that comes from a lack of assurance, because you want to control because you don't want to be, because there is this insecurity at in some place, and you think that, and in your past life, and control helped you overcome some stressful situations. So you think that, oh, this is the best. I'm going to control everything. In this case, I will not have any problem. And then, and especially in work-related topics, perfectionism. And I remember when they used to ask me, "What's your default?" I used to say perfectionist because people, in the high-intensity work space, it's important to be perfectionist. You will work more and harder and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So at work, I had a belief inside of me that perfection allowed me to overperform. And so after I started working on this imperfection in me, sometimes I struggled, was like, okay, if I'm not doing more and trying to be perfect in what I'm doing, maybe I will not be able to attract the opportunities that I want, or maybe I will not have the strong position that I wanted, or whatsoever. And sometimes I have an internal battle, as you were mentioning, between my new letting go, guy, and the other one was like, "Hey, what are you doing? We want to do this." Did you experience this, and how does it resonate with you?
Yeah, it resonates a lot. Um, My take nowadays is control is not bad. Yeah. Order is not bad. Structure is not bad. But it all exists on a continuum. It all can become a disease or poison, and it also can become medicine in certain environments, in certain situations. And so it's all about the balance. And
Mm.
nonetheless, if you let go of everything and you're just like, yeah, whatever, do what you want, I don't care, pfft, I don't give a shit. I don't control, I don't mind, blah, blah. I mean, in the perfect world, it would be heaven on earth. Okay? That's how I believe it. If everybody would be conscious, self aware, it's like, go, do whatever you want. Because the key for me is not control in the outside, but control in the inside.
Mm.
And this doesn't mean I need to repress or I need to force, but controlling more in a connotation of holding, of allowing, of being capable of holding the space for whatever emerges, but not letting this whatever emerge take myself over or take my whole being over. So that's a little bit the control that I now dance with internally. And externally, I would love to live in a society, in a community, in an environment on the whole planet where everyone is the same. It's all about, controlling yourself, your inner self, you know, having power over yourself. Let's say power is maybe a little better word than control, because control
Mm.
has most of the time the connotation of I'm controlling the environment, I'm controlling the others. Power as well, I have power over others. But actually, it's about having power within yourself, as being able to center yourself. Let's have it as control, able to control yourself and center yourself over and over again, and not letting other parts or whatever take over, and you are basically the co-driver of, I don't know, a trauma from your fifth grade or something, and then you're just completely reactive in the outside world. But
Mm.
becoming the driver, and let's say the fifth grade person can express, but is not taking over your inner being and then driving your behavior. And in the outside world, apparently, for at the moment, I feel we need a level of power or control to figure out new guardrails, or to figure out new ways of being together, new ways of co-creating, new ways of existing together, and being inventive. But at the same time, this inventive idea, visionary stuff needs a certain structure in order to manifest, in order to be embodied here, in order to be manifested on earth and be created. And that needs a certain level of control, power, structure, at least on a certain level, to provide that and to provide the container in order to let visions be expressed and be manifested. So for me, it's at the moment, it's a dance. It's not avoiding, neglecting, but it's also, as I said, a continuum of too much, too little. Where am I? Who am I controlling? Am I controlling myself? Am I trying to control others? Where is the matching point? Recently, someone else said to me, "You're walking on eggs." And if you're walking on eggs and you don't perform or utilize your strength and your capabilities, and sometimes even the power to lead and to propose certain things, then you're also wasting your talents and your gifts. And it takes way longer for a certain group or something to reach a certain aim or to reach a certain goal. Because at the end of the day, I'm not executing certain power or control, not over others, but within myself, expressing my capabilities, my gifts, and sharing with them, and then say, you can take it or you can leave it, but that's what I would propose. So not opposing or basically you need to go that way, but I'm sharing it with you. From my perspective, it would be the best way to do it this or that way. So it's a dance. It's really a
Yeah,
dance. So I have no
always.
fixed answer, but it's a moment to moment adjustment.
Okay. Jessica, if I meet with you in a ideal, I think on the mountain, like uh, snow everywhere and the sun, and you're alone on the mountain, no people around you, no mess, no kids, no people screaming whatsoever. You're really in your heaven. No pressure, no stress. Who would I meet?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, you're back. Yes,
Sorry, that's the Imperfect podcast. That's
of
amazing.
course. No
I needed
problem.
to plug in my cable and suddenly the connection was lost. Amazing. So part of the imperfectionist. Amazing.
Exactly. That- That's amazing. So did you hear the question?
So you said the mountains, but then I lost you somehow.
Yes, exactly. So you're on the mountain and snow everywhere, no people, no screaming, no one. You're alone. There is the sun. Everything is perfect.
Uh-huh.
Who would I meet?
You would meet a very calm, serene person because this is basically my refugee place that you just described. It's one of my favorite nature resourceful places that I can imagine. Um, and so I would be very calm. I would be relaxed. And I also would envision probably the next outdoor adventures or things that I would like to explore, but also, yeah, having a lot of time. It's not like, oh, I am in a rush for the next adventure. Let's go, go, go. No, it's more like, should we go backcountry skiing tomorrow? I think yes. Maybe there's snow coming, but maybe also we'll just lay down in the sun and have a cup of hot chocolate, whatever, you know? This kind of person, I guess you would meet.
I'll come. Next time you go to the to the mountain, let me know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And Jessica, you really opened up in this, and I'm really thankful for your honesty and showing us really uh, uh, some vulnerability. And I think we live in a world where today vulnerability is not praised. At the contrary, we're getting more and more there. I think, and I think this podcast is about this, about real, raw conversations about our even vulnerable parts because they shape us even more than our mask that we put on social media and we look etc. So, and I didn't even ask you these questions on in this podcast because I know that we're beyond, but we live in a world that is obsessed with perfection. How do you how are you be able to be vulnerable in this perfection obsessed world, and how do you live it on a day by day basis, and how is it serving you or not?
Yeah, it's a good question. Basically, um, I'm learning every day. I'm learning every day to not put on certain masks that parts of me think I'm supposed to wear in order to belong or in order to perform or in order to get the job, and to be able to earn some money or but I think one of the major drivers is belonging. We all want to belong, and so how do we belong to a group? How do we belong to a community? Do we fit in? All these things like, but what is the authentic part inside of me that can be truthful, that can be, okay, this is who I am today. Um, and maybe tomorrow changes. So mm, I'm learning to be more and more vulnerable. I'm learning to open up. Um, in everyday situations, but also in situations where probably conditioning would say this is not the right environment to be vulnerable. And in terms of putting myself out there or participating in the showing off world, let's say, or in the showcasing world, it's not my cup of tea. So I'm rarely on social media. I re-established an Instagram account, uh, but I rarely use it, and I really don't. I really don't post or share. I use it professionally, more or less, as a platform for, hey, I'm there as well, but not for communicating. I'm following some specific people that I chose to because I want to receive their information when they, share something from their work or from their path. But I don't use it privately necessarily. So on one side, you could say I intentionally protect myself, but I also feel that I'm not, I don't get drawn to this stuff. So I'm so, let's say, so far away over time. And I also worked in digital architecture and digital technology, so I know a lot about the code behind it, the intentions, the way it's programmed, la 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 la. And I know that awareness is the highest currency that you trade online, so, or in the digital realm at the moment. So I I don't necessarily go there. And in my environment, yeah, in the day-to-day moments, in the relations, in the meetings with other other people, I just try to be as authentic as possible. And if I catch myself of pretending to be or whatnot, that's okay as well. I just observe it and said, yeah, maybe it was in this moment, it was the moment to be like that. And maybe it changes in the next half hour. Because also I'm very aware of, you know, expressing all my stories and emotions in front of someone else who didn't even ask for receiving all of this. I just don't drop everything in front of everyone. No, I'm very mindful about, yeah, how do you feel? Yeah, I'm not feeling good, but I feel like not sharing more, if that's okay. And then it's okay. And then we can continue. I'm not drowning in it. I'm not dwelling in it, but I also don't throw stuff at someone. This is usually how I try to maneuver. Sometimes better and sometimes worse.
Yeah. Jessica, the bomb that I keep for the last question. Ready?
Yeah, sure.
Can you please tell us something that no one knows about you or very few people?
Yeah. That's something came to my mind, so I'll take it. Um Not a lot of people would think from the outside appearance and how they interact with me or the roles that I take on in certain environments or situations that I have quite some parts that are very romantic and that are very soft and parts that long for intimate, romantic, beautiful stories like Notting Hill would be one of my favorite movies in terms of these parts. And ah, I just adore this story and I love it. And it's so human, it's so, oh my God. But at the same time, yeah, this is very alive in me as well. And you know, there are so many aspects of me, or whoever me is. But it's a lot, and not a lot of people come to see these parts because, yeah, they might show up in situations where I can express it, where I can live it, where can share it. And so this is something probably that not a lot of people know about me, see at first glance, but it's definitely there. So if you want to do me a favor, then create Notting Hill for me and have the biggest love story ever. That would be amazing. You know, I would be the happiest person on earth. And then I would have a heartbreak or whatever, but that belongs to me as well. So it's just, but with a happy end, please. Okay. That would
Yeah.
be cool.
What I can propose to you and what I can do, because this episode will be published in 2 months maybe, because
Okay.
but we are 11 February and in 3 days it's Valentine's Day.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
maybe what I do is I can take this part of the podcast and post it on social media. The whole world will know,
Of
and
course.
maybe 3 days to find your Notting Hill
Yeah,
story.
sure. Yeah,
Anyone who's
that's
hearing us,
amazing.
please, we have a
I
Notting
mean,
Hill story here.
I just came back from the mountains and I somehow more or less have a crush on someone who is part of the hot team in La Rosière. But it was not such a happy end as to a continuation of any sort or whatever. But there is something, there's something in me that when I meet a special person or something, I don't even have to know this person. There's something in me just like recognizing as if we've seen each other or know each other for long, or I don't know. And then maybe the environment has an influence for sure, and then the vibe and everything. And so I was like, maybe this is my Notting Hill, but no.
No.
No. So
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe it will come. Maybe I'll just watch the movie again, whatever. But this is something that's not so obvious about me.
Jessica, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you for your openness. Thank you for your honesty. Usually, I take a few minutes at the end to gift my guests some kind of recap of what we said. And in your case, it was so rich, but I'll try. I'll do my best. So you started by presenting yourself in a very beautiful way, talking about what you like and what you love, and you used the word love several times. Love music, love movement, dance, nature, traveling, connections, improvisation. Then we started to talk about really important things, which are your imperfections, and your imperfection is mainly linked to your perfection, or you wanting to be perfect, or the control that controlling things and environment and situations, and that you've learned it the hard way that this control is not serving you at some point, and is not leading you to the outcome that you want. And at some point you felt it in your body, because your body couldn't handle it anymore. And this was also a wake-up call for you to listen more to your body, to listen more to your, not only your mind, but also your body and your heart, and try to slowly rebuild yourself and take pleasure in life again. And this was a very honorable journey that you've shared with us. We spoke also about the relationship between control and letting go, and you phrase it in a very beautiful way. So, like, in spite of talking about control, talking about power, what power do I give to myself, and power do I give to others? And also we spoke about something very important when it comes to control, that it starts with trying to control the outside, but it always ends with controlling inside. And this voice in your mind that is like, you spoke about judging others, but also there's this voice in your mind that starts to just this voice that is judging, and that there's an internal battle, constant internal battle. And what I call it sometimes the tension, like there is a constant tension inside of us. you shared this, but you also said, and when I asked you, how did you seem to be very clear on what are your imperfections. So now you don't have any problem. You said, no, it's a process. It's something that you're still working on. It's a constant work. Why? Because it's not only about understanding, or it's not only about knowledge. Knowledge is the key. There is also experimenting, experiencing, moment by moment, experience by experience, and reminding yourself all the time about your intentions. We spoke also about your ideal self in the snow on the mountain. It would be a person that is very calm, that is very in the moment, living the present, not overthinking, and really enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
And when it came to talking about how you face the world in which we live, which is a world which that promotes perfection, masks, and all that, you were very honest by saying that you don't like to put masks, but sometimes in some situations, parts of you, they put these masks because we are conditioned, and because this is how we want to belong to something. And when everybody's doing this around us, we tend to do it. But you also put boundaries, protecting yourself from social media exposure, from authentic conversations. And this is something that you work on intentionally. And lastly, you shared with us something that no one or very few people know about you, which is that you are waiting for your Notting Hill. So you have a part of you, like all of us, Jessica, that is longing for intimacy, longing to be seen, to be loved, to be taken care of. And maybe this is not a part of you that is visible in your day-to-day life because of conditioning, I would say, and because no one likes to be exposed, like we like to keep this for us. But the good news is that you were about to find your Notting Hill in the mountains, so maybe next trip you will find it. So that's
Yeah,
it.
that's
Just thank you so much.
amazing.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for listening so sharply. I think you use AI or you have an AI mind. So that both works. I love it.
Yeah, I love what I'm doing, and I think this makes the whole difference. And I love and I'm discovering, like the feedback that I'm having from people after these recaps are giving me, like at the beginning, I was doing it just to do it, and now I'm offering it because I really like to see the smile on the face of you now, like when I give back this generosity that you gave, you're receiving just what you gave, and it's the least thing that I can do is to give you a glimpse of that. So thank you so
Amazing.
much. I'm
Thank
I'm sure that many people that hear us now will resonate with a lot of the things that you have said and will also receive this gift from you. This is also the spirit of this podcast, is to share with people. Some people will say, yeah, what are they talking about? Yeah, we know all that. But some, maybe one or two or three people will hear this conversation and it will resonate in some place with them. It will open some areas in their heart or in their minds. And this is why we are doing this. And thank you so much for your trust. And, people, guys, please, we are a small podcast, but we have an intention to become so big. So please share us, like us, talk to us about your friends. We're present on Instagram. Also, Jessica don't like it very much.
you. Do your thing. Yeah. I mean, I'm also there, but
On Insta. Yeah.
that's the point. Yeah, yeah.
We're present on Insta. We have a YouTube channel. We're present on Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast. The episode will be out in 2 months, let's say. So please be there. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. Ciao.
Ciao.